Pies. I'm Lanikia, and you're watching What Happened on the Soaps. This is the Young and the Restless edition. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because it wasn't much. Now, yesterday's episode, I did enjoy. My internet has been out, so I'm just getting everything situated in today. So that's why you're getting these videos today. So I'm trying to play catch up. So on the Young and the Restless, I did enjoy yesterday's episode because we saw that Billy is wanting to work with Kane. And with him working with Kane, it's really caused a fracture between him and Jack, as always, because Jack wants him to focus on Abbott Media because he was like, I didn't invest in Abbott Media for you to go running off chasing Chancellor. And plus, we don't know what Kane is really all about. But I mean, it is what he is. He wants to make Sally CEO of Abbott Media. And they were like, but does Sally have experience? And I was like, yeah, because she worked at Newman Media. And so she does have the experience, but they really wanted this to be for Billy. Sally and Diane both agree that let's just put a pin in this because it's not going anywhere. And so that's exactly what they do. They just put a pin in it and they move on. So then we fast forward to who else was on here with Lily, not Lily, but then we fast forward and we see that Phyllis is talking to Kane, and she's trying to. He's pretty much have told her, if you're going to be on the team, I need you to bring me some information. So she doesn't tell him that Adam was there, but she does let him know that she knows he was buying up real estate in Genoa City, and he bought the athletic club, and he bought the discarded shares that Nikki had discarded and everything, and so she was like, I didn't have to tell you that information, but he still wants more from her because he wants to know, will you actually go all the way and betray Nick? Now Nick is talking to Sharon, and he wants her to get information from Phyllis on like which side she's going leaning towards, and he really wants her to tell him lean towards the Newmans and the people from Genoa City, beside lean towards their side instead of towards Kane's side. So Sharon goes to talk to Phyllis, and Phyllis is pretty much like, "Girl, please. I already know that the reason you're over here is because of Nick." She said this is always a triangle, and Sharon was like, "What does that mean?" And she said, "No, no, no. You making it relationship wise. I'm not talking about a relationship. I'm talking about he Nick always wants you to do something for him. He brought you on this trip. Now he wants you to come over here and convince me that to not work with Kane or to find out where my allegiance lie." And so Sharon was like, after they continue to talk, Sharon was like, the people who care about you and stuff, and who and Phyllis is just like, people don't like me. I'm a nuisance to them. They just see me as someone they have to deal with. Whereas Kane, it could be a fresh start. He could see me as his someone who has value to brings value to the company. So then Nick and Kane are talking as well, and I there Nick is trying to get Kane to admit that he'll leave Newman alone, like Newman is in the clear. And the only thing Kane said was that Newman will be all right, will always be okay. And I said that is not that's not the answer you were looking for, but they shook on it or whatever. So then we see Lily having this dream about Damien. I really don't care about this storyline right here because I feel like it's because of Kane really that we're even getting this storyline with Lily having these feelings for Damien. Plus, I don't really care for these two characters, so that's probably why it is. Like I could take it or leave it, and I just mostly left it because I fast forwarded through it. Danny Cricket, their whole thing going on. Let's move on. That's the Young and the Restless. If I missed anything, y'all, sorry. I'll try to do better tomorrow. The Bold and the Beautiful. Child, this whole thing with the Bold and the Beautiful. So, okay. So, on yesterday and today's episode, okay, so everyone has been pop out now. So, Sheila has one in the foot. Liam has given one to Luna, gave one to Liam. He in turn gave one to her because he wanted to end her reign of terror, right? Finn comes in. They're trying to save Liam. Steffi is just like, you gotta save him. You gotta save him. You gotta save. I say, okay, Steffi, dang, we understand. Sorry, but oh my gosh. And so they get them to they the police come. Steffi's trying to explain everything to them. They get them to the hospital. Grace is working on Sheila. Lee is working on Luna. Finn is working on Liam. Because I'm just gonna cut through the chase on this. They do show Hope and Carter, but it wasn't too much. They, it was the same thing where they just talk about losing Liam and how he's such a good man and all that. Y'all know how they do. And so then, as they're all in surgery, they're trying to find the wounds that each of them have to pull out the bullet. And so again, um, Grace is working on Sheila, so they put Sheila under, and Grace is being really kind to Sheila, like because I'm sure she knows everything that Sheila has going on, but she tells her, Sheila's like, I'm worried about my granddaughter. She said, I know about family dynamics and drama, but right now we need you to focus on healing and getting under. You're about to go under for your surgery. So just getting them out of the way. Sheila has her surgery. She wakes up, and Grace is still being really nice to her. And so she tells her, we did call your husband. He's on his way. So Deacon gets there, and he's like, Sheila, and they tell him everything that's went on. Sheila does, and he was like, oh my gosh, Luna shot you. And she's like, yeah, I'm just worried about her right now. And then Sheila talks about her foot and how it doesn't feel right. She says she's feeling a little numb, and he was like, well, you were pop out. And he said, but you're gonna be a little different. And she was like, what you mean by that? I said, I knew it. So Sheila is down from 9 toes to 8. So now she has 8 toes. Now, child, let's move on. So then we go over here to Liam, and he is being worked on by Finn. Of course, Steffi is talking to the police officers, and they're telling her he's going to be strong. He has two, little girls he has to live for, and he's going to pull through this and everything. And then Steffi says she wants to go back, so they take her to the, not the wait area, like right outside of the operating room or whatever. And then she calls Hope, and so Hope and Carter run over, and her and Hope are consoling each other, and she's just like, he's still in surgery. So they see him in surgery and everything, and they're just so overwhelmed with, he has to make it, he has to be okay. So then after all of that is gone, the next thing we see is I'm sorry, then after all of that is gone, the next thing we see is that what's their name? Liam is done with the surgery. At first, Finn thought he was losing so much blood, his BP was dropping low, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna lose him." But Finn pulled through. They found the bullet that was in him, removed it, and they stitched him up. He's stabilizing and everything, right? So then the next thing we see is they go to, he greets Steffi and them. He tells them the surgery went well. Right now, Liam is exactly what they need him to do, resting. But of course, it could turn at any time. So they're just being watchful and mindful of him. And they go in and to see him. And Hope talks to him and tells him he has to fight. He has to get through this. And that's pretty much it with them, right? So then it with Liam. So then we go over here to Lee. So Lee is working on Luna. And as she's working on Luna, Luna starts crashing out. Well, actually, Lee removes the bullet. Everything is going okay. And then she tells the nurse, I want to be the one to tell my sister what happened. Child, okay. So she wants to be the one to tell Poppy. I said, you want to tell Poppy because you want to dig in that butt. And you could see as Lee was working on Luna, that she had a lot of empathy for Luna. She was like, oh my gosh, you didn't deserve the life you lived with your mom. You shouldn't have made these decisions, but you didn't deserve that life. She's still like, this is Poppy's fault. So anyways, Lee is doing the last little I can't think what it's called, but she's sewing Luna up and everything. They've gotten done with surgery. Then Luna starts to crash. So then they work on her some more to bring her back. And finally, she recovers, and they're moving her to recovery. And Bridget is like, you know, Luna's gonna have to go to jail, like, cause they gave Bridget so many lines, I couldn't believe it. Like they said, here, Bridget, here 5 lines, say them all really fast at one time. So Bridget is talking to Lee, and she's just telling Lee, like, after what Luna's done, she was saved. But all we're doing is sending her to jail because of what she's done to, the our family, to the family and everything. The police are going to be waiting on her whenever she recovers. And Lee is just like, I can't deal with that right now. I just need to go and see Poppy. And I said, what you about to do, Lee? So then Poppy gets there, right? And Steffi and them start going in on Poppy because they like, your daughter shot Liam. I said he wasn't the only one. Well, they said and the grandma and her grandmother too. And Poppy is like, what? What's going on? And so, okay, so outside it's Finn, Hope, Carter, Steffi, Poppy. And then Lee comes out and she says, Penelope, um, Luna, we did the surgery, removed the bullet and everything, and then we were moving her to recovery, and she said, so she's okay, she's gonna make it. And she said, no, I'm so sorry, we did everything that we could, but she passed or whatever. And so Finn, no matter what Luna does, Finn feels guilty because that's his child and he didn't have any part in raising her. So there's a little bit of guilt there. Baby, when they said she didn't make it, they were like, oh my gosh. They don't feel bad, but just the hearing that she died is shocking. And so then Poppy said, I'm glad she didn't make it. I said, what? Poppy. She said, that's where she need to be, dead. Well, she didn't say all that, but that's what I heard. She was like, I'm glad she didn't make it. And she said it like 2 3 times. And so in the background you could see all of them looking like, what? And Lee is just looking at her shocked too. I said, baby, I believe, listen, this is what I believe happened, because it ain't nothing for Lee to take a body out of the hospital, right? And the way Lee was just talking about Luna, which was saying that if she hadn't been around Poppy, she would have had a chance. And the fact that Bridget was all in Lee's ear, like, she gonna go to jail again. She gonna do this, gonna happen, this gonna happen, that's gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, Luna didn't make it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see a body. Like tomorrow, if you want me to believe Luna's dead, I got to see a body. Cause I don't trust that Lee didn't move her body already. You know what I mean? I don't trust that Lee didn't move her body and Lee finna take care of her the way she took care of Finn that time. Y'all remember when Sheila shot Finn and she took care of him? Y'all tell me what y'all think, but that's what I think has happened. I think Luna, Lee's gonna have Luna because somebody, y'all know I hate spoilers, but somebody did leak that Luna was on a script that was for an episode in September. And it had Luna's name on there. And I said, now, if this is true, I don't know how much it is, but if it is true, it would make sense that Lee would take the body. But I could just be overstretching. Y'all tell me what you think. Anyways, that was the bold and the beautiful, y'all. Let's move on to General Hospital. So on General Hospital, Sasha is leaving and thank goodness that Michael believes Sasha, because he does believe Sasha that somebody is messing with her and the baby. He doesn't think, he said, I've seen you when you were not well mentally. This ain't that. So he believes that somebody is messing with the baby and everything. And so he calls Jason, and Jason said, I'm gonna get her to safety or whatever. And then Michael is all crying and teary eyed, and because he don't want Daisy to leave, but he said it's for the best because it's just keeps them safe. And so Jason is gonna take Sasha away, and so that's pretty much it with that, y'all. And then on another part of the episode, hold on, let me go to my notes. Because sometimes when I put in these episodes together, I'll be like, "Girl, what have we watched?" Um, okay, so that ends up happening, right? And then we see that let's go to the art gallery. So Drew is, excuse me, not Drew, but Cody is there at the art gallery. He's flirting with Ava and everything, and she's enjoying it. Ava looks gorgeous as always, but she's enjoying it. And then Rick shows up. Rick and Ava have this weird relationship. Why are y'all together when y'all really want to be with other people? And more so Rick, because I don't think Ava would really be paying Cody any attention if Rick gave her the, like, she feels second fiddle to Elizabeth. And I can't blame her for that because Rick has made it clear you are second fiddle to Elizabeth. That's where his heart lies. That's, it seems like that's where he wants to be. And y'all just are in this little thing together. So that's where y'all come in. But he really wants to be with Elizabeth. Anyways, he flirting with Elizabeth because some wine got wasted, and he trying to clean her up and everything. He talking to Elizabeth and all that. Ava feeling some type of way, so Cody orchestrated all of this because he saw that Elizabeth, not excuse me, he saw that Ava and Rick were kind of flirting a little bit, and he tried to make his move. So when he saw that, he went ahead and was just like, "Yeah, come on over here." When to Elizabeth, come on over here with me, and then they bump into Rick and all that. So he got them distracted, and while they're distracted, Ava and Cody get together, and so they're flirting and talking and everything. So we see that happen, right? So then Ricky tells Ava later on, like, you trying to make me jealous. You see me talking to Elizabeth, and now all of a sudden you're with talking to Cody or whatever. And she's like, well, if you would pay any attention to me, but you be all in your attention with Elizabeth, so it is what it is. And they just have a little tiff or whatever. But he had earlier though given her, like, he got more money from Alexis from the Cassadine, and he gave her some money, extra money to work on her art gallery and everything. So there's that. And that's pretty much it, y'all, with them. We do see that she doesn't want to admit it, but Molly does kind of like Cody. And I said, girl, you're gonna be upset when you find out, because she was like, you have so much bad stuff to say about Ava, Christina, but when Cody, you need to say it in front of Cody, you don't say anything. Hold on. But you don't have any but you don't have anything bad. And so that's when Christina starts kind of figuring out that, oh, you like Cody, Molly, you like Cody, and she don't want to admit it, but girl, yes, you like Cody. So let's move right on along from that, because that's pretty much it with them. So then we see hold on. Okay, so then we see that now Willow, of course, y'all know Willow is messing with baby Daisy. And so Carly goes to the hospital, and she tells Willow that she heard about what she did with baby Daisy, and to please stop doing that. Like, don't be, if you do it again, you will be banned from the Metro Court. And Willow said, well, I had to see him some kind of way or whatever. And start, how Carly gonna go rip into Willow. She was like, well, then leave Drew alone. And she was like, y'all are not gonna run my life. And I said, well, then you're not gonna get to see them kids until the court date appears. And so that's pretty much it with them, because then Carly's brother comes up, and when he comes up, he tells her, Lucas tells her, can you please protect Marco? Shh, can you please protect Marco from Sonny? And she was like, what are you talking about? She was like, and he was like, because, you know, she was like, you need to be worried about, she tells him he needs to be worried about Sitwell. They ain't got nothing to do with Sonny. Sonny doesn't go after, Sonny goes after, people who are against his family. He doesn't go after innocent people. Has Marco done anything? And so they talk, and then she runs over there to Sonny. Now, Sonny is with Jason because he feels like Sitwell is behind it. Now, with the whole Selena Wu, he don't really think she was behind it, but he said even if she wasn't, he knows that Sidwell is behind both of this. But they believe whoever did the town penthouse, is it the penthouse and the Charlie's, those are two different incidents. They believe those are two different incidents or whatever. And because of that, they're thinking that they have people coming at them on two different fronts, right? And so then we see that Carly comes barging in, and she tells him, leave That she don't want to lose another child. They already lost Morgan. She doesn't want to lose another child because him and Sitwell has this thing going on, and he tells her he gonna protect him. At that point, Michael called Jason, and Jason leaves because he's trying to get Sasha out of town. And so when he leaves, Sonny and Carly continue to talk, right? And she's just telling him like she wants her children. Like Carly, you know what you was getting into when you got with Sonny, and that is a possibility that people was gonna come after your children. So this whole, oh my gosh, you can't promise that you're gonna keep them safe. No, he cannot promise that. So I'm just like, girl, you knew what it was. It is what it is when it comes to them. It is what it is. So that's it. That's it. That's all. So then after she leave, well, before she leaves, Geo comes and he sees that something's going down with them, and it's awkward. But she tells him, "No, no, I'm done with Sonny. You can come on in." So he goes in, right, and he's talking to her. Excuse me, Gio's talking to Sonny because Carly is left now, and he tells him because he was at the art gallery and he heard Sitwell talking to Jordan and how Sitwell wants them to look into the plane that was supposed to go to Belize for Natalia, and because they're gonna show that Sonny had something to do with it, and maybe then they can open the investigation on how Natalia really died. And so when Gio heard that, he ran over to his grandfather's house. And Sonny said, you stay out of it. And he said, Grandfather, I'm just, and he said, no. He was like, I know what Tracy, Tracy's Tracy. He said, but she was trying to protect you. He was like, when he was younger, he wished he had somebody to protect him. He said, but then he got into the game and it was too late for him. Like he was too deep in. So now all he can do is protect his family. And so he told Gio to stay away from him. And Gio was like, no, no. And he said, no, Gio, you have to stay away from me. I love you. But right now, that's what I'm asking you to do. I don't want you dropping in on conversations that you hear with Sidwell. I don't want you getting in any kind of trouble. I said, what is about to happen with this? Because, these young kids, they always give them a storyline where they get into some kind of trouble with somebody. But we'll see, child. Oh, I wish Spencer was back. That was a good character. Because Geo and Spencer were looked alike. I don't know if they're in real life related or not, but they look a lot alike. Anyways, moving right along. So that's pretty much it with them. So then we move over here. Speaking of Jordan, she talks to Portia, and she tells Portia, like, listen, I talked to Curtis, and Curtis is all good. As far as me, I let him know I was going to stay out your marriage. I was going to stay out from out. I was going to stop being around him unless it was a family function or we just had to. And Portia said, "Oh, he probably ate that up. He probably believed that, but not me." I said, Portia, 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 Portia. Like, what you got going on with your husband is what you got going on with your husband. Like, stop making Jordan the scapegoat for it. And Jordan, stop trying to reason with this woman. She don't like you. She don't like you. Stop trying to be reasonable. You will never get her to be reasonable. So then what Portia had talked, that was it with them. Portia had talked to Stella earlier, and Stella had just pretty much told her what, marriages have bumps in the road, but y'all gonna work that out. Now Stella had also talked to Martin because apparently Martin didn't have insurance, and she did some little magic for him to get him covered, so with his stay at the hospital and everything. And that's pretty much it with them. I don't know if there's going somewhere with Martin and Stella or not, but I like them together as far as being friends and everything. Now Laura was at the hospital, right? Because she was checking on Martin. And while she was doing that, Marco and Lucas were talking. And then the reporter, the lawyer Boyle comes over. Now he gave Drew some information earlier about how to take down Sonny and Laura. And I said, Drew just going after everybody. Because back in the day, he would never. But so he gave him the information, right? And so now the lawyer sees Marco, and he says, Marco, he brings all these television reporters with him, and so they're asking Marco questions about his mom and everything. And Marco says, whoever is responsible for her death will get justice, will receive justice for it. And then the lawyer sees Laura. So he runs over to her and he says, you're the mayor and you're friends with Sonny Corinthos. And he's asking her all these questions. And she told him, shame on you for using this moment, especially in front of this man who's lost his mom, to try to gain some type of publicity or political points or whatever you trying to do. Your agenda is. So then the lawyer go back over to Marco, and Marco tell him the same thing. Like, you're not about to use me for whatever you got going on. No, sir, not at all. And so Laura goes and she speaks to Marco, and he tells her shame on her for being friends with Sonny. And Laura explains that, you know, she is the mayor and Sonny didn't do anything wrong. And he was like, well, what about morally and everything? She said, everybody got to live with their own conscience. What she pretty much saying is like, Sonny's my friend and that's it. That's it. That's all. Like, your mama wasn't sitting around here innocent either. But anyways, Marco he is bent on getting revenge on Sonny for something Sonny did not do, but his daddy all up in his head, so he's just determined to get some type of revenge about it. So hold on just a moment now. So remember I told you earlier that the lawyer had given Drew information that told him that about Laura and Sonny. And so Drew goes to Curtis, right? Now Kai is in there with Curtis because he's trying to. Well, Felicia was in there first, and she lets him know we lost Jacinta, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" But he thanks Felicia, and she leaves. And then Kai comes in, and he tells him he was the reason that they lost him because he told Drew. And Curtis said, "You are involved in something you don't know anything about. Like, Drew is not a good person, and I know you believe he is, but he's not." So then Drew comes in, Kai ends up leaving because Kai is trying to explain to Curtis why he did what he did. He said, "Sir, you ain't got to explain that to me." Because we all know he gonna have to explain that to Trina, and Trina is not gonna take this kindly, but she probably gonna end up forgiving him. So then once Kai leaves, Drew comes in and he said, the way you using Kai is ridiculous because I know you and you're not a good person. And then Drew is just like, I haven't done anything wrong. It was your wife that tried to set me up. And you also, both are felonies. So then what he tells him, now I want you to run this in the paper and asks, is Sonny responsible for Natalia's death? And then publish the forensic report, no, the toxicology report and everything. So I don't know, child. That's what they gonna. Drew Curtis didn't want to do it, but he don't really have no choice at this point. So then we see Kai goes to speak to Trina. She don't know right now what's happening, but we're gonna find out tomorrow because she's gonna be upset. And that's pretty much it, y'all. That was it with General Hospital for the day. So hold on just a moment. Let's go ahead and go over here to Days of Our Lives. So on Days of Our Lives, what's been going on? We see that. Hold on, let me get this. So on Days of Our Lives, first of all, why is Stephanie and Alex just going, yo? So when they said they were about to be with each other in the park, I thought they was gonna go behind a bush. That's why I said, "Wait, y'all mean in the open?" He told her he loved her and all that, and they all lovey dovey. They are a cute little couple. But that's it with them, y'all. I'm not gonna hold you too long on that. Then we see that who is it? Ari is with Doug the third. So she with Doug or whatever, but and Rafe and Gabriella found out about it because Sammy called Rafe and she said, "You know what's going on with Ari?" So she told him. So Rafe went over there to the home or whatever, and he's confronting it. Well, he didn't really confront her about it because it was like he was concerned, but he wanted her to live her life, so he was just like, just be careful. And she got all upset about it, and they was like, don't get, and Gabriella had to tell her, don't get an attitude with Rafe, your Uncle Rafe. He's just trying to protect you. And she was like, yeah, I know. And so they hug it out. But she tells them, I don't want anything to do with Doug. He's a flake. They said, well, I thought you said, because at first she said she didn't know who he was. She don't even know him. Then it was, oh, he's a flake. So they did meet and all that. But Ari is just like, she's gonna stay away from him because he's rude to her. He was rude to her. And they're like, okay. But they don't really believe her, but they're like, okay, cool. If that's what you say it is, that's what it is. So when she leaves, she goes to the pub, right? She goes to the pub, right? And when she goes to the pub, there's a man watching her. Because I don't know if it's because of Doug or is it something that's happened with Ari, but it seems like Doug owes money to someone, and you could tell the man was watching her like he was gonna snatch her or whatever. And but Kayla comes up. So when Kayla comes up, she talks to Ari or whatever, and then Ari ends up going, later on going to the pub. And when she does, Roman is there, and he was like, "What you doing here?" And she said, "I came to talk to Grandma Kate." And she said, say, what now? It's this late. She in the bed. And she was like, oh, well, I'll talk to her tomorrow. So then, because she got busted because she was really going to see Doug. So then she has to go back around and climb up the window, child. I said, girl, no. And when she climbed up through the window, she talked to Doug and he told her he owed some money to people or whatever. And that's why he had to make her leave the other day. He didn't mean it like that. And she forgave him. They ended up on the bed. So let's move on from that because we all know she's gonna get kidnapped or stole or something. But we're gonna move on for that. And who else are we gonna talk about? Hold on just a moment. Okay. So then we see um Belle. Now Belle had talked to Marlena the night before, and she's just like she's stressed because she says on one hand she has to prosecute this case. She has to do her job, but she's hoping that EJ does a well enough job where they can, excuse me, where they can get Johnny off because that's her nephew and she don't want to be the reason he goes to prison, but she has to do her job or whatever. So then we see that she meets up with Jada, right? And when she meets up with Belle meets up with Jada, they're going over evidence, and she said it was Roman's pow pow that shot EJ. And she said, that don't help. That does not help Johnny. And Jada said, I just, they both agree the evidence is just too conveniently linked to Johnny. But they said with the drive, they're gonna look at it. Okay. So they go, there was no fingerprints or anything on there, but they said whoever wanted you to find this drive made sure that you got it. And she was like, yeah, they did. So they look at the drive, right? And Jada like, oh my gosh. So then they call Paulina and they tell Paulina get down to the station. Now Paulina, don't you burn on that wall. Now Paulina had been with Chanel because Chanel been tripping because Paulina had to do her job, and but Paulina says she doesn't. She believes that she praying to God that she's wrong, but she believes that Johnny is the one who took tried to take out EJ, but she hopes that she's wrong, and she tells Chanel, but even if I didn't believe it, either way, I have to do my job because other people's jobs are at risk, like the Salem PD. Everyone has to do their job, Chanel. I need you to understand that. And Chanel, she cries and she tells her mom she understands it, but she's trying to be so strong for Johnny, but this is a lot on her. And her, Paulina just tells her when you get weak, just you know, I'll be your strength and everything. It was a cute little moment. And but then she gets the call that says go down to the police station. So that's exactly what she does. She goes down. Child, why this woman went down to this police station and they show the file, the recording, and on the recording it's Chanel talking to EJ. Now EJ was talking to Tony earlier. She was threatening EJ on the recording. Now he was talking to Tony earlier, and he pretty much was saying, first of all, Tony said we need to get the mirror back from the Kiriakas or whatever, and EJ is like, yeah, because Johnny kept running. He said I ain't got no business experience and stuff, but EJ is just being EJ, and he said, are you concerned? And the way EJ was talking, Tony was like, I feel like you know something or you've done something. Just let it play out. And he said, it's just early. There's new evidence being found all the time. I said, I know EJ didn't send this evidence to plant on Chanel. Johnny not gonna forgive you for that, sir. Johnny is not gonna forgive you for that. So going back to Paulina Bell and Jada, they see this evidence, and Chanel is clearly on that video threatening EJ. I said, "Child, this is about to be a mess. This is about to be a whole mess." But that's it with them, child. Um, oh, but then Johnny sees Chanel later on, and she's just continuing to comfort him because he went to his first day at work over there with Xander and Philip. A whole mess with those two. So he's went over there because they have to make some kind of publicity statement because when Xander got arrested, their stock tanked, and so they're having to come to unite together and show the public that they're on one accord. They can't do it because they don't like each other. So Johnny said, listen, I'm gonna come back. Y'all get it together with each other, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna work this out. Because Johnny was there to video it or whatever. But they couldn't get it. They couldn't get it together. Now, speaking of that, I'm not going. That's pretty much it with them, y'all. So speaking of Xander, so Xander was at the town square on 4th of July, right? And he was talking to Felicity, apologizing and everything to her. And then he runs into Sarah because they see each other. And they agree to have dinner because they need to go over, getting everything together for Victoria. And so once they get everything together for, they need to go over custody. And Xander said he wants 50-50. Like, he was like, when, like, we could just do 50-50. Sarah really not feeling that because, she said it's because he won't admit what he did to Philip. And she was like, if you admit that, then we can talk about something. Um, She said, maybe we could talk about something. Xander said, are you wearing a wire on me? You tell her. He looking all around. And she's like, Xander, why can't you just admit what you did? She said, see, this is why I don't trust you with our daughter. Because I don't want something to happen to her because you are, no ma'am. Because you're all into other stuff. And I don't want anything to happen to her because of that. And so they start going back and forth where she calls him untrustworthy. He calls her a liar. She was like, all the stuff that you've done, you really gonna draw the line at me lying about something? I lied for a good reason or whatever. And Xander is just upset and he tells her, well, it is what it is. We're gonna have to do this the hard way. And she was like, what does that mean? And he was like, it is what it is. And so she ends up leaving and he sees Melinda and he tells Melinda, go ahead and put that thing in motion that we were talking about. And Melinda is just looking like, all right. But I don't know, y'all. But anyways, so then later on, we see my girl is back, Gwen. So Gwen is back on the soap, right? So she came to Julie's house. Um and Chad is there, and he was like, Julie, you're not gonna believe this is. And it was Gwen. And they were like, what are you doing here? You just missed your dad. And she was like, oh, but she did have her, she said that somebody played a cruel trick pretending to be an Abigail and all that. But she's feel bad for him about that. But that's not why she was there. And so she opened up her shirt and you saw this beautiful necklace. And Julie says, that's the Horton necklace. That's a family heirloom. And she said, oh, I bought this fair and square. And it was like, you can't prove that it belonged to the Hortons. So I was able to buy this necklace. And they said, okay. She said she told Hope because Hope had said that the necklace was coming back or whatever. She said, oh, Hope got it confused. I did say I was bringing it back, but I didn't say I was giving it back to y'all. Gwen did all of this with her petty self. Just to get back. I said, why is she like this to Julie? Now she told her, I'm sorry about Doug. She said, because he was real nice to me or whatever. But you, yeah, I just wanted to show you this necklace. And Chad said, now, Gwen, why you got to be so petty? Like, why you have to do that? And she was like, because I'm filthy rich and I can now. So it is what it is. And so she left. She left with that necklace. She won't give it back. They tried to buy it from her. She said no. They said, what's it going to take? She said, nothing. Just knowing y'all can't have it is enough. Look at y'all faces. Look at it. said, Gwen, that's why people don't like you. But I like you, girl. So let's move on. So then Gwen runs into what's his name? Leo, Maddie. So she runs into him because he had been at the hospital with the baby because the baby the formula was messed up, so it had the baby fussy, and he overreacted, but it's better safe than sorry. So he and Javi were in the park or whatever, and Gwen and stop, give me that, give it here. So they were in the park and everything. Mila Gray. Mm-mm-mm. And Gwen came up, and so she was like, "Oh, Leo, Matty," and he's like, "Guinevere," and so they start going back and forth because he's still remorseful about it. He's sorry about what he did, but Gwen's not accepting any apologies. She was like, on one hand, you did me a favor because I'm still married to Dimitri and I'm filthy rich because I control his whole fortune or whatever. And so she opened up her shirt and he saw that necklace. He was like, that belongs to the Hortons. And she said, oh no, I bought this fair and square. So then they go back and forth, and he says, Dimitri dumped me in a Dear John letter, so I've been suffering or whatever. And she tells Javi, you don't know who you're dealing with when you're dealing with um Leo, Matty, but you're going to find out. And she told Matty, I'm not done with you yet. I said, Gwen, so you didn't come back I want to make peace with people, or I just want to live my life. Oh no, you came back saying I'm rich, chicks, and I'm finna abuse this money. Like I'm finna show off on this money. So, anyways, that was pretty much it with them, y'all. He trying to tell Gwen that he's sorry, but she don't want to hear none of that. She's gonna come for revenge on him. I don't know how she gonna do it, what she gonna do to him, but that's how she's coming. So then the next thing that we see is Gwen runs into Xander. He's drinking, right? So he's out because he done had a bad night because of Sarah. And he all in his emotions, and she come up to him and he's like, Gwen, you're back in town. So they start reminiscing and talking about how it's nice to have money now because they can buy a room at the Salem Inn and they don't have to worry about being knocked on the door at 4 in the morning. It's nice to have money and everything, right? So that's what they're talking about. And then Gwen said, do you ever have regrets? I think about the what if, because she talks about, her past and how she always knew she was second fiddle to Sarah. And he said, no, he don't have regrets. Gwen, that's enough right there. The man said no. He said no, Gwen. He said he had no regrets. He, if he had his chance right now, he would be with Sarah because he was sitting there thinking about her anyways. So that's what he's telling her, right? And so she's just like, well, she has some regrets, and she says it goes in a loop in her mind all the time about the what if her and she and Xander could have been together, or whatnot. But he doesn't feel that way. But they continue to talk and catch up and everything, and they continue to drink. So then the next thing you know, they walking back to the Salem Inn because he's walking her back to make sure she gets there safely, and they both tipsy. And she said, oh, I can't handle the liquor like I used to. And so they're talking, and then they start to kiss, but Xander backs up off of her, and he was like, I should go. And she said, you should come to my room with me. So then he goes up to her room with her, and he still can't do it. They go into the room, they start kissing and everything some more, but he leaves because he's just like, I can't do it. I'm not able to do this with you. So he ends up leaving. So the next morning, now we see that as a flashback because the next morning we're like, oh, he just left her in bed, but we find out while she's eating breakfast that it was actually a flashback. It flashes back to what actually happened, which is that they didn't do anything. He left, but Maddie, Leo saw them go up to the room, so I don't know what's gonna happen there. Um, but then Gwen is in her room the next morning having breakfast when her brother comes through. And when her brother comes through, he's there just to get the necklace. But she won't give it up, of course, because she said they can't prove that it belongs to them, can they? And so he lets it go. And then she starts, because he was like, why are you doing this? and she starts telling him about she just wanted Jack's love in her childhood, and he told her, "Get over it, girl. Like you, Abigail is dead. You gonna be jealous of a dead woman? She's dead, and my dad has a chance to love you." He said, "But after the way everything went down the last time he saw you, you gonna have to put out an olive branch." And she's like, "What kind of olive branch do what would you suggest?" Because she tried to play tough, like she don't care, but she does. She wants Jack in her life. And he said, "I'm sure you'll figure it out." I said, "Girl, get that necklace back and stop being petty." I love me some Gwen, but get that necklace back, girl. So he ends up leaving, and that's it with Gwen. So then we go over here to Sarah, right? Because remember, she's had a bad time with Xander. So she's sitting there reminiscing about their last Fourth of July and how they thought the next Fourth of July, their daughter would be old enough to, look at the fireworks, and they would be able to celebrate it differently with each other. And a year later, they not even together, and they really don't like each other. So then Bunny comes in and she says, "Listen, Sarah, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You're doing good by being away from Xander, because men like that don't change." And so she tells her about her past relationship, and Sarah was like, "I'm sorry you went through that, but Xander would never put his hands on me." And she's not really talking about the physical abuse. She's talking more about the mental abuse of the threat Xander could be towards Victoria. And she's just saying that you don't need him, and if he gon' she was like, Sarah's like, Xander made the way he looked at her was cold, and she could tell that he's going to play dirty when it comes to the custody. And so Bunny said, "Well, then you play dirty right back with him." And she was like, "I don't even know how to." And Bunny was throwing out suggestions. "No, ma'am." And she said, "Or just pull up some dirt on him, find the dirt, or get him." She said, "For one, get him to confess that he was the one behind Philip's attack." And she was like, "How am I supposed to do that?" And I don't know, girl. I can't do the work for you. But anyways, that was Days of Our Lives today, guys. Y'all let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm trying to get caught up on all of them. The only soap now left is um, Beyond the Gates. I do like that soap, so I'm almost ready to start reviewing that. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.